Before I start this video, I just want to let you know that one of you are going to be taking home this booster box of Winterspell. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel and check the gleam.io link in the description below and pinned to the comments as well. The support on this channel has been amazing. You guys have given me more than I could have ever dreamed of in the Lorcana community. So I just want to say thank you and give you a little token of my appreciation by doing a little giveaway for you. So hopefully you guys know how much it means to me and how grateful I am. But yeah, make sure to enter the giveaway. Link is in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the video. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lore Chronicles. I am your host, Willoughby's. With me, as always, is my wonderful sidekick, Mr. Burns. Say what's up to the people.
What's up to the people?
And we have a great video for you because we have top 5, maybe not top 5, but very important, okay? Mistakes, common mistakes that we want you to avoid here in Winterspell, okay? And we're breaking it all down for you from before you even get to the tournament all the way to playing your first turn. We are here for you with these mistakes. So let's get into this top 5. Starting, okay, you've registered for Ink, right? You're ready to go, okay? You're gonna be there. You are registered.
I am. I am.
See, and before you get there, okay, there's already a mistake you want to avoid because number 1, we have common deck building traps. Okay, so this is before you've even picked your deck. You want to make sure that you're building correctly. So talk to us, Mr. Burns. What do you have for us in regards to deck building traps here?
All right. So there's some that we're going to start with what you're already familiar with, right? So the biggest ones from last format was the Headless Horseman, Malicious, Mean, Scary, and Horseman Strikes, right? So these are commonly played cards. So how do you avoid losing to them? Well, you just don't play cards that are you're going to get wrecked by these cards, right? Like if I am playing a 5-cost 2-strength character, I'm probably just going to lose if my opponent Headless Horseman's it, right? And in the same way, I don't want to play like a 1-cost 2/1 and a 2-cost 3/1 and a 3-cost 3/1 because my opponent doesn't even need Prince Philip. They're just going to sweep me away with Malicious, Mean, Scary. You know, so we do have 2 new ones this set. What do you think they are?
First one that comes to mind for sure is Grandmother Willow.
Yeah, people are terrified of Grandmother Willow. So what does that mean for deck building? That means that like people are adding more ways to get rid of Grandmother Willow. So like I keep seeing people trying to play cards like this uninkable 2-cost 3/2 Pocahontas that when you quest you gain lore, stuff like that. And it's like, well, if people are already building decks that target something that has 2 willpower, you can't build a deck around a character that has 2 willpower, especially if it's uninkable. And what's the next one?
I don't know.
Let it go. Let it go. Yeah, so the next biggest one, which is a returning one, is Let It Go. Let It Go is popping up in many Sapphire decks, right? And it's something that can be sung. So especially when you're on the draw, I don't know how you win a game where you play a character that does not have an on-play effect and your opponent can just sing Let It Go, putting it straight in your inkwell. Like, this is going to be a massive mistake. I see people playing decks like they're trying to shift the Todd in, that if it's targeted twice in a turn, you can ready it. Or they're still trying like Little John combos, stuff like that. Or like building up these giant Mulans, right? And on turn 6 they're going to try to play what's it called, you never came back, or you've come back.
Yeah,
The
they
thing
never
that
come
can
back.
ready it. Yeah, and it's just not feasible to play these cards that don't have an on play effect when your opponent can just so easily, especially on a song, get rid of your character. Your whole game plan's out the window, and the tempo loss is insane. Like if you thought them strengthening your 3-drop ended the game, Imagine they freely remove your 5-drop. Yeah.
Okay. So this all sounds good and well in theory, but when it comes down to practice, Mr. Burns, I don't know how this is going to work. Okay. I've got some questions that I think the people at home may have as well. For example, Grandmother Willow, sure. Things like Fire the Cannons, things like Angel, are going to definitely take care of those cards. And those are cards that people are slotting into their decks aplenty in response to this card. But Grandmother Willow, some might say, is just too good to pass up. So does that mean don't use Grandmother Willow in your deck at all? Or is it more about timing, knowing once, I mean, obviously if you're, playing the first game blind, you don't know, but like, is it about seeing what you're up against and then deciding whether or not to play that card or keep it in your alter phase? Like what's the actual action there that we can take? Because I think people would call you crazy if you told them not to sleeve up Grandmother Willows at all.
No, I think Grandmother Willow is insane, especially like it basically has an on play effect.
Right.
Because when you play it, your next character costs 1 less,
Yeah.
right? So as long as you play another character, I mean, if they spend their whole turn playing, Fire the Cannons on your Grandmother Willow, or I'm even seeing people play, more expensive cards even just to deal with Grandmother Willow. If you go Daisy on 1, Grandmother Willow, and another 1-drop on 2, they're still so far behind. It's like not even funny. So she's not the deck building mistake. The deck building mistake is you have to realize what people are targeting and not just play right into their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I would still play my 1-cost cards that have 2 willpower, and I would play my 2-cost cards that have 2 willpower if obviously if they have resist or something like that, or if they have some kind of one play or leave play effect. Otherwise, I just don't want my entire board getting eaten up by an Angel and my opponent not even putting Angel in their deck specifically to beat me. I'm just letting them beat me because I'm playing all these random cards that probably shouldn't be in my deck to begin with.
There you go. So I think that's helpful. Some people do get annoyed with like, I don't want to just play, whatever's meta, but I will say meta cards are typically meta for a reason. And so it's not that you have to only play meta decks to like listen to this advice, but it is when you're building your decks, whether they're meta or rogue, because sometimes with meta decks, people will start having tech cards that also kind of just do nothing like you're saying. And then it's like, yeah, sure. Maybe you have this nice tech for this one deck that happens to beat you, but like you're making your matchup worse for everything else. So I think that's still helpful. But even for our rogue players, as you're trying to choose which cards to include in your deck, even if they're not meta, you still want to make sure that they reach this certain criteria that we're talking about. I think ultimately, if I were to reframe for the folks at home, the people like me who are like, what is he saying? He just named so many cards. I didn't even realize I had to worry about these things. It's that with your deck building, you want to be reactive to the meta, right? So rather than trying to be, because I think right now in an early meta game, right, we're like what 1 week in, 2 weeks in, if that, people are trying to be really proactive, right? They're trying to anticipate everything, so they're putting a bunch of different stuff in their decks. Tigger's going into Blurple, Sven's going into Blurple, Pete's going into Blurple, Belle's going into Blurple, then it's coming out, then Pete's coming out, then Sven's going back in, then Sven's coming out, right? It's like everybody's trying to be proactive to figure out what's going to beat. So you just might want to be reactive to everything that you're seeing and saying, okay, a lot of these things are going in, things like Angel, Fire the Cannons, maybe I do have Grandmother Willow on my deck, but I know when to play her, when to not, and when to look for her in my alter phase, things like that. All right, so there you go. That's tip number 1. Moving on to tip number 2. Okay, you've built your deck, you've avoided the traps, you are ready to sit down and play, but wait, you aren't even actually ready to play yet, because number 2, you gotta decide who goes first. Okay, and if you're anything like me, when you sit down, you like to go, I roll good with you. Your opponent says yes, it's heaven. But what happens when your opponent looks at you and he goes 2 dice high, or not 2 dice high roll, excuse me. 2 dice odd even? What? 2 dice odd even? I feel like I'm about to get scammed. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, Mr. Burns. When people look at me and they go, you want to do odd even? I'll roll, you call. I'm like, this guy's got a trick up his sleeve. Something about this isn't right. What's wrong with the 2 dice high roll? I'm not understanding. So please, tell us about this common mistake with odd even.
Yeah, well, the biggest mistake is wasting your time having this conversation. You should know the information ahead of time, and you should know that you're not getting scammed, all right? And we're here to assure you that you're not getting scammed, all right? For one, people aren't going to just automatically believe me for some reason, so I'm going to read what Google has to say about it, first of all.
Okay.
When rolling two fair six-sided dice, the probability of the sum of the two numbers is odd is 50%, and the probability of the sum is even is 50%. There are 18 odd sum combinations and 18 even sum combinations out of 36 possible outcomes. Boom, there you go. All
Wow.
right.
It's pretty good.
They're not going to listen to us. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say, yeah, but 7 rolls so often. 7's the most common number that can roll, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what about 2 and 12? All right. Because that's never going to be odd. And that can also be rolled. All right. So you have 2 dice in front of you.
Yep.
All right. Here's an easy way. As soon as your opponent starts telling you, no, you can't do this, here's an easy way to debunk this. Roll one of those dice.
Just one.
Yes.
Okay. 4.
4?
Yeah.
All right. You have one more dice to roll still. What are the odds that the number is going to be odd or even?
50%.
That's true. Only the second dice mattered. We could roll 101 dice, right? You roll the first 100, you still have a 50-50 shot. It's going to end up odd or even. All right? Because what are the odds? The odds are 25% of the time, both dice are even. 25% of the time, both dice are odd. 50% of the time, it's 1 and 1. So there we go. Can we please? I mean, it was literally the last DLC we played in. 2 spots down from me, Alphos was going through this, trying to explain to his opponent, I am not scamming you. If you think it's odd more often, call odd. Like, who cares? You know, that's another thing. It's like you tell your opponent to call it. If they think they have some kind of advantage, just call odd. So anyway, that's that. We can move on in all of life. Please, I never want to hear this again.
There you go. So doesn't matter how you spin it, as long as you're rolling a die, you're good to go. Next up, okay, is then you still can't play because you've decided who's the first player. Okay, you've picked your deck, you decided who's the first player. It's time to shuffle those cards. Okay, and I'm not gonna lie, Mr. Burns. Once again, I am guilty of this one. Okay, when I'm playing a deck, let's say I'm playing Amber Steel songs back in set 2, right? Okay, we got a lot of songs in there. We got like 20 songs in there. Okay, and I just finished my game 1. Okay, and I just finished my match, and now I'm going into my next one. So I've got in my head, I've got all my songs stacked up on top of each other because I played them all in a row, right? Maybe I, played A Whole New World into Strength of a Raging Fire, into Let the Storm Rage On, right? They're all sitting on top of each other. So I'm going to sit down for my opponent in my next round, and I'm going to hit the pile shuffle because I want a nice even distribution of all my cards to make sure that it is truly random. What do you have to say about this one?
Right. So, we did cover this before. We didn't have that many subscribers at the time. So we got to cover this again because it's still happening. We still see it. So first of all, if I sit down across from my opponent and they are doing this, the first thing I might ask is, what are you doing? Right? And what do they say? What's the most common thing someone says?
I was just making sure my cards are random.
Right. So they'll either say, "Oh, I'm trying to make sure my cards are random by evening them out,"
Yeah,
or I'm pile shuffling.
right.
For one, you're not pile shuffling. You're counting your deck. Okay. If to our subscribers out there, I want the best for you. If a judge ever comes over to you and asks what you're doing, you're counting your deck. For 2. As soon as my opponent goes, well, I want my cards to be more random, so I'm making them even. I don't remember the last time random meant even, right? I'm pretty sure if I drew 4 Hades and 3 Let It Goes in my opening hand, that was random. I had no clue that was happening. In fact, I wish it didn't. That's like the most random thing to ever happen to me in my entire life. That's random. So yeah, please stop doing this. This is a waste of time. If for some reason you feel better doing this, you could always do it before you get to the table, and then you could sit there and shuffle like a normal person.
Right.
At least 7 times. Give it to your opponent. Offer them to shuffle it. Don't get mad if they shuffle your deck. It's within the rules. And then you can, finally play a game of Disney Lorcana.
Boom. All right. And so there you have it. Pile shuffling, fake news. Okay, although it does, I'm telling you, just something about it makes me feel better. But it's true. It doesn't actually do anything. You've maintained this position for years. Okay, ever since I've known you, you've been on this train. So big one for everybody. All right, next up. Okay, you're going first. You've shuffled, you're ready. Okay, you've drawn your 7. Maybe you've altered some back and you're ready to go. The next biggest mistake we see is people not mapping out their turns. So talk to us a little bit about this and what this looks like for the common player.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about brain worms for a second, where people look at the next card and go, "Oh, I would have won if I could have won more." Because that's a huge mistake people make. That'll get them tilted before they even start the game. But yeah, this may end up being a much longer video that we make in the future that has to do with inking. But yeah, people for some reason seem to only think about the turn that they're on, right? So turn 1, they might just be like, oh, this Let It Go costs 5. I'll just ink that. Or this, I have 2 1-drops. I'll just ink this other 1-drop, right? And instead of realizing like, oh, wait, in this matchup, Let It Go's uninkable. I don't care what that ink symbol says. I need it, right? If I'm playing Blurple and I'm playing into Emerald Sapphire, I'm kind of I want to have all of the Hades and Let It Go effects I can, because they only have like 8 characters that can quest in their whole deck. Another thing is, like, if you have Demona in your deck, but it's not in your opening hand, and you just ink all your cheap cards to play cheap cards, you might end up in this weird position where you can't get down to 0 cards when you would have been able to if you mapped out your turns better. So yeah, I think people should really practice, like, okay, let's say I draw an inkable every turn. What am I going to do for the next 5 turns? And of course, you reevaluate every time you draw a new card. Maybe you don't draw an inkable. Maybe you draw a card that's better than what you have in your hand already. But yeah, people really need to start thinking more about the future turns. And, you should also do it on your opponent's turn. The amount of people that, like, I say go, and then they look at their hand, and it's as if they've never seen it before, is fascinating.
Yep. Guilty of all these things, Mr. Burns. Hey, we're all learning together. So the only thing I want to say is, for me, this is something that, I've worked really hard on with mapping out my turns, understanding what my deck is trying to do, right? And I study, okay? I read the Metafy guides, I do my little coaching, and I play test, okay? And so I'm like, I know, I got it. I watch videos on alter strategies, okay? I'm like, I got it. I know what my 1, 2, 3, 4 is. I know what I'm looking for in my alter, okay? And then, boom, I have to ship 7 because I don't have ramp. So now I've just drawn a random 7 cards. I wasn't able to carefully craft my hand, to keep my best cards. So what happens then, where maybe I hit my ramp, but at the cost of, I've got 2 Cheshire Cats, which are a great card. I've got 2 Let It Go's, a Hades, and maybe a Demona, right? And it's like all these cards that, like, I know are good. I know I'm going to need later. I might need a Let It Go later. Like you said, it's uninkable. What if I want to play that Demona? It's really good in this matchup. But, if I do that, like, I just don't know where to go from there. How do you recommend people react to those situations where then they're like, I gotta map out my turn, but my hand is suboptimal?
Oh, well, if you're playing Blurple and you don't hit ramp, you just go to the next game. It's fine. That's a joke. Actually, if you were going to do that and it's game 1, you know what you do? You do nothing. You just keep saying go until your opponent beats you. And then you go to the next game. And then you know everything that's in their deck. I've never heard anyone talk about this. This was a common strategy when I played Magic. If you drafted or were in a sealed PTQ or something, and you just didn't have lands, you would keep altering until you had 0 cards in your hand and let your opponent play 7 turns so that you knew what to expect when they did. I can't believe that just dawned on me. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I mean, you just have to know how your deck functions. You just have to know the odds of drawing. Like, you know, maybe in that instance, you didn't say you had a 5-drop in your hand. Maybe you have to ink Let It Go because you're gonna have to probably Demona to get back in this game. You don't have 1-drops. You're like playing catch up the whole time. Uh, you're just gonna have to understand, like, hey, what are the odds I'm gonna draw a 5-drop? Okay, very low. I have 8 in my deck, and I have 40 however many cards left in my deck, 53 cards left in my deck. I'm not going to draw it, stuff like that. So yeah, it's just repetition is a huge thing, and that's another one that could be on here. Play test before you get to the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's another mistake that happens before you even sit down. You have played 0 games and you think, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's just Disney Lorcana. But if you're traveling across the country for a DLC or something like that, you better know your deck inside and out. So even in these situations, you should still know what to do.
Boom. So a couple of extra add-ons there. Also, don't concede too early. I love that, right? Get a feel for what your opponent's trying to do, especially in an early and new meta game, right? Kind of see what kind of cards are there. All right, and our last mistake, perhaps the biggest mistake that people could potentially make, okay? So you've mapped out your turns, okay? You've gotten to your turn 3, turn 4 where you play down, maybe even turn 5, you play down that Cheshire Cat, okay? And there's a sweet boost, okay? You could boost the damage off and get rid of you could banish a really important character, but what if my next card off the top that I then put under my Cheshire Cat, never to be seen again, is the Demona that I've been looking for several turns, Mr. Burns? What do you have to say?
Yeah, so this was the whole catalyst of this video, right? Because it's something that you said in a couple of videos ago. And funny enough, one of the comments was like, guys, don't do it to yourself. No one's going to listen to you. I've been trying to explain this to people for years, right? And I'm not going to do the Google analysis of this because it was multiple paragraphs of how dumb this is. This comes even from Blackjack, right? If you've never played a trading card game, if this is your first trading card game, you've probably played Blackjack even for fun with your family. And you'll hear, some old man go, "You took my card! That was the bust card! I can't believe you did this to me." And here's the thing. When you play any game like this, all of the part of your deck that is unknown, right? So let's say you play to develop your brain. The bottom card of your deck is no longer unknown. Take every other card. You can pretend those cards are being shuffled constantly, okay? They are in a continuous shuffle machine, and you are drawing a random card. Your cards are supposed to be random. This is why we shuffle our decks at the beginning of the game, so that they're random, right? So you had, you could say you had just as good of odds of getting rid of the Demona as drawing the Demona from boosting, right? But like, for the people that are just never ever going to believe that, I'm actually going to lie to you and say you have even better odds of drawing the Demona now, okay? So let's say you have 40 cards left in your deck and 4 Demonas. So 10% of your deck is Demonas. It means 9 out of 10 times you're not going to boost away that Demona. You're getting even closer to it, right? So if you're going to have the brainworms of saying, well, I could get rid of it, I'll give you brainworms that help you by saying, no, you're never, ever going to get rid of it. And when you do get rid of it, you could just say, oh, I only lost because I got so unlucky. I had 10% to get rid of the card. Any other time, I'd have won this game. My opponent's not better than me.
Boom.
I think that's another reason that people have this problem, is they just want an excuse. They're just like, oh, well, if I didn't boost away my Demona, obviously I win that game. But then it starts getting like, I'm just never going to boost again. Like, I will boost every turn for what people think is no reason. No damage in play. Boost Cheshire Cat, move nothing, go. Like, A, you might be able to bounce that Cheshire Cat to your hand. B, your opponent might put it in your Inkwell along with all the cards that were boosted. And C, the most likely outcome is the Cheshire Cat gets banished, And then you have more information going throughout the game. You go, okay, I no longer have these in my deck, right? And now I can form a game plan on, okay, well, yeah, I did get rid of a Demona. Now I know I only have this many. What are my odds of drawing it? Maybe I shouldn't play that out, so on and so forth. So yeah, again, we can make a whole video if people need an explanation, but please, please believe us. Your brain is playing a trick on you, okay? Just use the boost mechanic. You're not going to one jump ahead your lucky dime away, okay? Most likely. And when it happens, it was strictly bad luck. It was completely random. You rolled a 40 side die. 1 through 40 was the card that you needed to not put under. It's not your fault. Again, it's not your fault. More adults need to hear this. It's not your fault.
Well, amazing. Yeah. So kind of reframe that thinking, because you could also just think of it as, actually, I'm putting, like you said, I'm putting the worst card of my deck under this Cheshire Cat, getting me one closer to the card I actually need.
Just as likely you got closer to it.
So that is our top 5 common mistakes to avoid in Winterspell. Basically, I think to wrap it all up in a nice little bow here, as I often try to do, what we're saying is that your mind is your enemy. Okay, your brain is against you, and your brain has these things, right? Because a lot of these things that we're talking about, they're just like feelings, right? You just feel this way, but it's not actually based in any sort of reality or statistics or facts. Okay, and so that's what we're trying to tell you here, is that you can feel like, well, it just makes me feel better if I pile shuffle, right? It's superstition or something like that, but it's not actually true. Okay, you can just shuffle your deck, you know, like as you normally do. You can just boost that card off of the top. You know, you can just call odd even, right? Nothing bad is going to happen, and these are things that are just constantly working against us to trick us, but they're not actually true. And so everybody can rest a little bit easier because we have a little less things to actually worry about. Just boost that card, okay? Just roll that die. Is there anything else you want to kind of say about this before we let everybody go?
No, if you have ever experienced any of this, don't feel bad about it. As much as I'm joking about it now, and believe me, this whole video was a joke. I had fun doing it. Gambling fallacies have existed since the invention of gambling.
Yep.
All right. It doesn't matter. And I know we're not gambling, but like that's what most people will be able to relate this to, because like most people have had some form of fun gambling nights with their family when they were kids, stuff like that. So, that's just it. Don't worry about it. Try not to sweat the stuff that you cannot be in control of. And, luck is going to happen sometimes. Otherwise, I'd win them all.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. Well, thank you to Mr. Burns. Round of applause for Mr. Burns, everybody. Okay, this is why he's here, because somebody like me, and probably somebody like you, this is your first TCG and you're going, I got pile shuffle every time. Okay, and then we have Mr. Burns here saying, guys, stop it, calm down, you're gonna be fine. And so I hope that you all know, when he makes these jokes, he's making them at me too, but it's all in good fun, because like we're saying, that's the point of this channel, is like, I get to be here and be like, wait, I need your help, I need to understand this thing because my brain is telling me something, and he's like, actually, that's not based in any logic, which is often the case with the things that I think. All right, that's gonna be it from us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, press the subscribe button, leave a comment down below, hit the like button, enter the giveaway. Okay, we're giving away a box of Winterspell, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.